All right, so we'll get started here. So yeah, this is not the longest webinar today because I realize it's Thanksgiving. A lot of people are going to be trying to get out of here early, but I'll do this and then it's a live webinar. So after I'm done, we'll take questions. And yeah, so this webinar today is about it's actually about a pretty important topic, and it's something that I think a lot of people don't always understand. They don't understand it when they're young attorneys, and they often don't understand as much when they're older attorneys. And it's really about mistakes people make when they're when they're interacting with others, peers, other attorneys, and even clients. And it's some rules that can actually make or break your career. I'm going to talk about a lot of examples today of people that I've seen make certain mistakes. And but to start, I want to make kind of one overall point that I think is really, really important to what we're talking about today. And it's something that a lot of people don't necessarily understand. So when you look at like the most successful people, like I've known billionaires, I've known movie stars, and people along those lines that that you would consider very, very successful. One of the things that all those people have in common, the majority of them, is they're able to do things in terms of they able to make other people feel really good about themselves. So a billionaire will be able to meet somebody and immediately they'll have this skill where they'll make the person feel understood, whether the billionaire will like them, where and then I mean they feel like the billionaire likes them, like they understand them, they like them, and they have this sort of way of building people, making people feel built up. And then when they do business with that person, the person that's doing business with them is always kind of chasing that feeling. And they use that. So that's something billionaires do. A lot of times, movie stars and things that are able to get ahead. I mean, it's a very, very competitive business. And so it's not always just about talent. They're able to make people around them feel very, very good. They do the same thing. They talk to them, they ask them about themselves, and they make that person feel very, very good about themselves. And so that's something that I've noticed even when I remember, God, there's just so many examples, but I've seen a lot of people, known a lot of movie stars like that. I mean, when I say a lot, like maybe five or six, and some of them I actually knew when they were younger, because I live in Malibu and I, met a lot of these people, and they have the same sort of skill. They're able to meet people and make them feel very, very good about themselves. So why am I telling you all this? Well, one of the most important things, like if you want to be successful, as an attorney and or whatever you want to do, your success is generally going to come down to how you make people feel about themselves. If you're able to get clients, those clients are going to work with you, excuse me, because of how you make them feel about themselves. They're going to feel good when you talk to them. They're going to feel taken care of. They're going to feel, they're going to feel good. And that's why they'll use you compared to other attorneys. It's the same thing with people that you're working for that will advance you. They're going to advance you because you make them feel good about themselves. And when I say making people feel good about themselves, I mean that your presence and you're working with them and makes them feel taken care of. It makes them feel respected. It makes them feel like you have their back. It makes them not question your relationships with them and make them feel badly about themselves. And so all this stuff in your career and successful people, even successful products, make people feel good about themselves. A lot of your success in your career, I mean, a majority of it, really a lot of times comes down to your ability to make people feel good about themselves, whether it's your peers or people that are your superiors. Ultimately, that's what it's about. That's what politicians do. That's what people in all sorts of different businesses do. They're able to make people feel good about themselves. So the things I'm going to talk about today are reputation related things, but most of them are things that people do that make other people not feel good about themselves. And if you're unable to make people feel good about themselves, then you're going to experience problems in your relationships with significant others. You're going to experience problems with employers. You're going to experience problems with friends. And your life is never going to be as enriched and as it could be if you were able to understand this basic rule. And it's one of the most important rules of human relations. And most people out there don't understand it, but the most successful people do. They're able to find the way to relate to others that doesn't make those people rub those people in the wrong way and makes them feel good and comfortable about themselves. And it's literally, I think it's the most important, one of the most important lessons for being successful in anything. So most attorneys out there, they are often evaluating themselves, whether they're law students and practicing attorneys, things that may not necessarily be what makes them successful. So they believe that they're going to be successful based on how smart they are, which obviously has something to do with it. How many hours they bill, or the prestige of the law firm and their law school. And all of these things are important. I mean, they're not things that don't matter. But really, what ultimately happens is if people don't like you, then you're not going to get clients, and you're also not going to go as far as you could in your career. I've seen so many attorneys in law firms, all they have to do is get one or two people on the wrong side of them, people with power, and those people can derail their careers. And people keep people around. They don't fire people, and they promote people based on how that person makes them feel about themselves. In every major U.S. law firm, the top law firms, there are equity partners that got to those roles just because they were working for maybe one very powerful partner in a firm and made them feel good about themselves. You really have to understand this rule because it's really ultimately what's going to determine how successful you are. It's going to determine, again, if you get clients. It's going to determine if you get advanced. It's going to determine if you get jobs. People hire people not based on their qualifications, but the people that they like the most. That's how it works. I mean, it's not always your qualifications. It's going to be if someone likes you and they think you're just as good as someone else, or maybe not even as good, you will get hired if you're likable. So one of the things I just want to say at the outset, and it's very interesting. It's Warren Buffett, and on his desk or behind his desk, he's always had a little plaque, and the plaque is for taking a course with Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's this little thing that he took, 60 years ago or whatever it was, 70 years ago. And people always ask him about it. And he's like, this is the best money I ever spent was taking this class. So it's a class in human relations and getting along with people. And he said that taking that class has made him like, it's given him the ability to make a lot of money taking that class. So it's a book. Also, it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People, but it's also a plaque that, it's a course you can take or you can read the book. And it talks a lot about these human relations because if people like you, you're going to be happier and you're going to go farther than if you don't. So what ultimately determines in a law firm, how successful you'll be for like an associate is how you're perceived by the people you're working for, how you're perceived by peers that you're in, the same class level, even how you're perceived by staff. If you rub a staff member in the wrong way, they'll have the ear of partners. They can find things that you're doing wrong and hurt you. So literally everybody around you, to the extent you can, you need to be liked. And if you're not liked by people around you, then it will, if you can't control it, which most people can't, it will come back and it will create problems for you. Anytime someone thinks that someone doesn't support them or isn't out for their best interest or it doesn't like them, that person will become your enemy, or they will become someone that will look for you to do things wrong. They will start gossip. They will do all these sorts of things. So you need to realize that any work environment you get into, if you make a mistake in terms of upsetting too many people or upsetting the wrong people or not being likable, you're competing with people that are. And law firms are, very sensitive ecosystems, and people are always watching you and much more closely than you realize. What happens in every business and every law firm is there's always people inside every business and organization that are very positive, that people like, that are doing things not to upset people. And then there's people that are somehow, for whatever reason, have upset people and may actually be against that organization or critical of it. And so law firms and all sorts of businesses, what they do constantly is they're churning out negative people and people that aren't liked and keeping a culture intact by keeping the people that are liked, aren't making problems, and making sure that people that may have something against or problems with people in that firm are pushed out. That's what they do. That's why people lose jobs. That's why people aren't promoted. So people notice inside law firms and every organization when you look annoyed, if you get an assignment you don't like it, if you make a face, or if you glance at someone to indicate someone else you think is saying something offhand. If you're late for things, or complain about things, or complain about people, all this stuff is noticed. And so if you do things like to upset other people and you're negative, then all this stuff is going to show up in your reviews. It may show up in your compensation. It may show up in the type of work. It may show up in your prospects. So what does that mean? So anybody can be incredibly critical of your work if they want to. They can find things that you may be on the fence that may not have been done correctly if they want, but they may have done correctly, but they can say, oh, you should have found another case, so, missed something. Anybody that wants to can find fault with you, and if they find fault with you, then and they can find it, and so anybody, if you upset people, are always able to find fault with you. It's not that hard to do. So anybody they can criticize for whatever reason, and if they feel like you're against them, you're not making them feel good about themselves, then you can create problems for you. So I've seen so many really smart attorneys, people from the best schools, all sorts of people that you would think would be incredibly successful, get pushed out of law firms, have careers that go nowhere. The careers stop because the people that they were working for didn't like them. They might have been perceived as arrogant, like they thought they knew everything. They might have been perceived as negative. They might have been perceived as entitled, like I deserve a certain type of work, or high maintenance. And so once all this stuff takes hold in any like firm or organization, then you develop a brand. And if that brand is like something that's not making people feel good and supported, then you're going to, have a hard time, lose a job. And so people that are often the most talented will get in trouble because they'll be, sending those signals. They'll say, yes, all this stuff is true about this firm. It's negative, or whatever. And then they'll come up with all sorts of reasons not to like the firm, to justify not whatever they're talking about. And they'll think they're being honest or standing up for themselves. But in reality, your success is going to be based on how you're making people feel good about themselves. Do people like you? Are you doing the things that clients want to make clients like you? Do people feel comfortable around you? Are people see you as positive to the organization, all positive and not negative? And so I'm trying to, talk about these things today. A lot of these things you may have, that may seem self-evident, but you should try to recognize if you have any of these patterns, because if you do, you can change course, or you can not make mistakes, or you can overcome the ones you want. But again, I see people all week, every week, that are making some of these mistakes and that have had issues wherever they go. And law firms, by the way, are looking for people that don't have these issues. They often will make mistakes in hiring the wrong people, but people that have stability and do a good job and are able to stay employed, get clients, and do all these things are not making the sorts of mistakes that I'm going to talk about today. And so I'll talk to you about these different reasons, and give you some insight into how to fix these things as you're going through. So let me just okay. So here's some personalities that you shouldn't display. So one of them is being arrogant, like thinking that you know better than other people, that that you're whatever, you're better for whatever reason. It could be you think you're better looking. It could be you think you're smarter. It could be that you worked at a better firm before. It could be you went to better schools, and whatever that is. If you are arrogant in any and most law firms, especially if you're working for someone else, you don't have your own business, people will push you down. So the natural human instinct is if someone is arrogant, then you're making that person feel the people that you're around not as good about themselves, and those people will figure out reasons to push you down. That's what judge. If you ever watch in courtroom things, if you see I don't know, a litigator doing that in front of a judge, they will get pushed down. And so people will always push down people that are arrogant. You don't want to ever think you're better than other people or give that off. You don't want to pretend like you're smarter than other people. You don't want to pretend that you know better than other people. I was interviewing a woman who was looking for a job recently, and I was doing it as a favor to a friend of mine that was a partner at a large law firm, and he knew this woman, and she was probably 8 or 9 years out of law school, and she had had a series of all these different jobs, and they hadn't lasted very long. And I was talking to her, and I was like, and I spent a couple hours doing this career counseling session just as a favor to this partner, and she just kept talking about how she knew better, like she was a better writer than all the people who the firms she'd been at. She was better at this. She understood this better. She did this better. And so her whole career had been basically a series of things where she basically would go into these employers, and she was very smart. She'd gone to like the best schools, but she would go into these employers and she would think she knew better than everyone. And that's not good. If somebody's paying you and you're acting like you're better than them, and they're an attorney as well, then they're not going to like you, and that's going to hurt you. And if you do that, the same thing with your peers, like you think you're better than the people that you're working with for whatever reason. Other attorneys, they're not going to like you. If you do the same thing with clients and you think you're better than the clients, no one's going to like you. So being arrogant is a major thing that hurts people. And the thing about being arrogant is if you're arrogant, then people aren't going to want to help you. So if you think you know everything, then people aren't going to try to show you otherwise. And I mean, they're going to basically not want to help you. You need other people to help you. Everybody needs other people. Attorneys need clients. Attorneys need work to do. So you need other people. So regardless of how talented you are, regardless of whether or not you think you should be at a better law firm than you're at, regardless of whether or not you think you're smarter than people for whatever reason, people will always push people down that think they're arrogant and better than other people. I had something interesting happen not too long ago. I was working with an attorney that had gone to Harvard Law School, and he had done some just I don't know what was wrong with this guy. He got out of law school and he took some job that was not even really that closely related to practicing law. And he after taking that job, he was there for maybe 1 or 2 years and wanted to get a job in a law firm. And he'd never been a summer associate at a law firm. He'd never he hadn't worked in a law firm. So law firms really didn't have any reason to, he didn't show anything in his background that made it look like he was, wanted to ever work in a law firm. He didn't have any experience, but he came to me and wanted me to help him get a job. And even with that not going for him, I was pretty confident I could probably get him something. So I got him a job at a national, like a good national labor and employment firm. And he got this offer and he didn't know if he should take it. And I was like, why don't you think you should take it? And he said something like, because there's 700 lawyers there and not a single one of them went to Harvard Law School. And I was like, well, yeah, but you have these issues with your background and this firm will train you and everything. So he sat on this offer for a long time, like 3 or 4 weeks, and was just totally rude to the firm. And then when he finally started there, He did take the job because he didn't have anything else. And then when he finally took the job, he got there and just was an ass and like pissed everyone off. And I think he was gone within a very short period of time, like 6 months. And it was all because of this arrogance. And had he been smart, he would have gone into this role and said, "Hey, I need someone to train me." Just 1 second. All right. I apologize. If he were smart, he would have gone into this and said, "Hey, I'm very lucky that these people hired me. I'm very lucky that I have someone to train me. I'm very lucky that I'm able to get a job in a law firm and learn a skill." But instead, he was all like arrogant about the fact that he had previously worked. I mean, he'd gone to a big law school, and this is what people do. I mean, people will often get into organizations and they will think that they know better. They will think that they're smarter. They will think that they should be practicing with better people than they are. And they don't realize that regardless of where you're at, you need people to train you. And you need people to look out for you and say nice things about you. So you want your peers, you don't want your peers all talking badly about you. Because if your peers are talking badly about you, then that's going to hurt you. The people are just going to say, "Hey, people don't like this person," and those sorts of people aren't going to stay in firms. If you're upsetting people that you're working for and you act like you're better than them, then they're not going to like you. So anytime you are acting like you think you're better than people, you're giving off that sort of thing, then people are going to avoid doing uh, helping you. And so law school or accomplishments. People do that all the time. I talked about that earlier. Like if you go to a really good law school, that's not something that you want to draw attention to or talk too much about. You need to act like you're an equal to people. So people do that a lot. And I've seen that happen countless times, people thinking that they're better than other people because of where they went to law school or mentioning it. And people, for whatever reason, I think a lot of partners and other people are very sensitive about their law schools, especially if they're not good. So, if you're working for someone, that person is your client. You don't want to upset them. I mean, they have, work. So that's the other thing. The other thing that happens a lot is people get like a sense of entitlement wherever they are. They will think all sorts of things, and this is a very, very big one. They will think that they deserve a certain type of bonus. They will think that they deserve a certain salary increase. They will think they deserve access to certain types of work and not others. And anytime you bring in anything into any law firm where you act like that law firm you're entitled to get a certain thing from that law firm, then that law firm is not going to like it. I talk to partners, when they're giving bonuses at the end of the year, and people become upset about the bonuses, and that upsets them. If people get upset about the type of work that they're getting, and they think they should be doing more sophisticated work maybe than be given, and that is something that you can't do. Like if you go into any organization and you act like you deserve a certain thing, then that can hurt you. You have to realize that, when you're working for someone else, you have to basically do you have to work under whatever type of conditions and things that they've set up. Meaning, if they think, they want you to work in the office 5 days a week, then that's what you need to do. You don't deserve to work at home. If they can only afford to pay you a certain type of bonus, or that's what they do, then you need to accept it. I mean, you need to, realize that any firm you're in, that there's going to be certain things that they're going to do, and if you believe you deserve certain things, then that can hurt you because if you give off an attitude that you're entitled to certain things and not others, then law firms are not going to like that. And anytime someone has a sense of entitlement like that, they end up having a lot of problems because people do not like people with a sense of entitlement. So if your law firm, one example would be if your law firm, sometimes law firms will pay, they'll pay maybe 20,000 or $30,000 less than top of the market firms, and then people there may think that they deserve it. Other people will be just happy with what they're getting. The people that think that they deserve something and act like that are usually, when things slow down, the first to go, or people are just uncomfortable having people around like that that think that whatever that this firm is not doing enough for me, and we'll let that will not let we'll let them go or not give them the best work and that sort of thing. So just remembering that anytime you act like you deserve something, then that it's just something that can upset people. So you have to be very, very careful about that. If you don't like the work you're getting, if you don't like the pay at wherever you're at, the best thing to do, especially if there's a lot of other people like you, is to just go and find another job because you don't want to upset people, upset people around you. Another thing people do, and this is something that also upsets a lot of people, is sometimes they will, be dealing with staff, and so you could be dealing with staff in the word processing, or paralegals, or legal secretaries, and basically act like you're better than them and you know what to do, and because you're an attorney, but not do it in a nice way, do it in a way that upsets people. So people that are upset staff are often get into a lot of trouble in law firms. They think that the staff is beneath them, and the only people that they need to impress are the people that they're working for, and they don't realize that that staff has been hired usually by partners and other people that they're working for. The partners hired them because they like them, and then those people, if they're not treated well, they're going to go to partners and other people and complain about that person. And so that is going to get back to you, and that can hurt you. I've seen a lot of people get in trouble by doing that. I've seen people not get job offers or callback interviews. I've had it, I mean, happen several times where people will go into an interview and they will talk to the receptionist, but not in a nice way. They'll be there to, trying to schedule something. They won't be nice about it. They won't try to connect with that person. And then that person will say something negative about them. And then the firm will actually often, not some, I've seen people not, hire people because of that. I've seen people not be willing to do certain things like that they think are meaningful. Like, they will. I mean, I've even seen, partners ask for certain things or help with something, and they may say, "Isn't this what a paralegal's for?" Or people. I had one guy I knew that was at a major law firm. I think it was Skadden, and someone asked him to fax some things or something, and he complained that, this isn't a job for an attorney. I don't know, and that kind of came back to him. So you need to be very, very careful about that. A lot of times when people are new, they don't always do this. It's not that common, but people will think that they kind of know everything, and that that they don't need a lot of help and guidance, and so they will make that mistake many times when people are starting out. And then sometimes people, think that they don't necessarily need to socialize as much with their peers and get along with them. Your ability to get along with peers is obviously something that's very, very important. If you think you're better than your peers, then they will find reasons to create trouble for you and won't like that as well. So why would you want to be in a firm or an environment where you're acting like you're better than other people, and so they don't like you, and you kind of have to deal with that. There's no you need people around you for support. People that you're working with now could potentially be, in-house counsel or partners at other firms later, even though they're your peers. And so you need to be very, very careful. Everybody, by the way, you should have with your peers very good relationships with them. You should have To the extent you can, you should try to, interact with them socially if, in a limited way outside of work. You want them to like you. There's something I shouldn't talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. There's in the in the there's people that drink and go out and socialize and drink. Those people actually, there's been studies and things like that done, have higher long-term incomes, meaning they make more money. I mean, I guess there's differences between how people drink. So some people may drink too much, and that creates problems. So people that go out and drink with their peers, their long-term income, the people that do that consistently is actually I couldn't believe it. I mean, you could look it up or ChatGPT or something, but people that do that end up, having often better careers than people that don't. And a lot of that is just because they're able to socialize with other people. Information is exchanged in social settings that might not be exchanged otherwise. People learn about what to do, what not to do, about other opportunities. All these sorts of things can happen. So, being and having a good relationship with your peers is incredibly important, because if you don't, then they will again push you down, or gossip negatively about you, or tell people things. You have to have a good relationship with your peers. It's very, very important. People often think that that's not that they don't need to do that, but anybody that you're dealing with at work, you should realize that that person, for example, could become very powerful later. But one of the most important things is just to realize that anytime you're dealing with, any of your peers, you want them to like you. And I'm not saying you need to go out and drink with them, but I did think that particular study was very interesting, because it shows that people that are able to relate to people in a more informal way tend to do much better. One of the other big things is having not having a ton of confidence, and this is something that I am actually very surprised by, because I see, like, I would say, look, I prepare people for interviews all the time, and I would say, like, the majority, like probably at least 60% of the people that I speak with don't have a ton of confidence. And when I say they don't have a ton of confidence, what I mean is that when they go out, when they're talking to me, and when they're talking to employers or clients, they don't show a lot of confidence. And confidence is actually one of the more important things for an attorney to have, and a lot of people don't realize this. And why is confidence important? Well, think about how you would feel if you were hiring an attorney for someone. I don't know what it would be, if it was a divorce or a criminal or a trust in the estates or whatever it was, and you were talking to an attorney, and that attorney didn't seem like they had a lot of confidence. It was just kind of all sheepy. Then you would, not be happy with that person. You wouldn't want to hire an attorney without any confidence. You would want to hire someone with confidence. So just think about this issue, because again, this is something that I would say the majority of people on this call, and I'm not criticizing you, I'm just telling you, because this is how most attorneys are. Most attorneys do not have the level of confidence that they should, in order to be as effective as possible. When you look at the best partners in law firms, and they have confidence, but a lot of times people just don't have confidence. So you need to build this up. And if you don't have confidence and you don't come across as looking confident, then you're going to be in trouble. And this is one of the things that just gets so many people in trouble, because you're just, when you don't show confidence, you're basically showing the employer that you're acting, how they would not want you. You wouldn't want someone working for you that doesn't have confidence. So you need to develop that, and it just happens, so much. I mean, people get into firms, and then they're asked to go to court, and then they don't have confidence to do that. They're asked to do certain assignments, and they don't always have the confidence. And just all these sorts of things, happen. Self-depreciating statements like "I'm not ready for this," or "I don't know much about this." I mean, the people that do the best are always the ones that are able to have a lot of confidence. And so you have to learn when you go into a law firm, you have to be able to show confidence, and you have to be able to. This is something you also need to be able to learn to do if you're trying to get business, and which is very, very important. People want to hire people that have confidence, and if you don't have confidence, then that's a problem. So again, confidence is also doing things like not apologizing for a lot of mistakes, don't drawing attention to things, fixing things the next time, not talking in a confident way, just not being sheepish, being direct. You have to be clean and like you're direct. You have to seem like you're in control. And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand as well is anytime you're working for someone else, and the partner or a client, you need to treat everybody you work with and everybody you work for like a client, and you need them to feel good and taken care of. So you go to see a doctor and the doctor doesn't have a lot of confidence, you wouldn't like that. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of people giving you the work. Sometimes people will be extremely competitive with colleagues, and you should be competitive with colleagues, meaning you want to try to build as many hours as you can. You want to try to do the best work you can. So these are ways to be competitive. You also want to establish the best relationships you can with peers and other people and superiors. But being competitive with colleagues means you do things that are intentionally undermining them or creating issues. So you will not give them all the information for something. You will hide information from them. You will give them incomplete instructions. You will, if someone's doing work with you or for you, and you will do things intentionally to get an edge or to get some sort of advantage over your colleagues in a way that they will realize you're playing games and will upset them. So these are things that, and this is very, very common. Lots of people do this in law firms. I witnessed it numerous times with when I was practicing law, with people trying to do that with me and doing it with other people. So if you act that way with your colleagues, you will get a reputation of undermining people and playing games and all those sorts of things. And lawyers are very good at this. You learn it often in law school, and then you learn it in when you get out and you're working in law firms, and then people even will do this types of things, will undermine people and things when they get clients and they're fighting another side to play games. So you have to realize that everybody you're working with, you really don't want to do that, because if you do that, you're going to get a reputation in doing that, and that's something that your peers will again look for you to make mistakes, will isolate you, will talk negatively about you to people in power, and you just have to be very, very competitive and careful. I mean, people are extremely competitive many times, and to the extent that it's pretty unbelievable. I went to the University of Virginia Law School, and that law school had like a reputation of everybody like getting along very well, and people not being competitive with each other. And I had a really kind of funny experience, and this was sort of my introduction to how competitive attorneys are with each other. I was in my second semester of law school. I think I was taking property, and I was in the library, and I was sitting across from a guy that I knew just kind of informally. I mean, and he wasn't a friend of mine. And he had this incredible outline he was looking at for property. And I was like, wow. And I was just looking, I could see him looking at it. And I was like, this is like such a nice outline. Where'd you get this? And he's like, I can't tell you. It's like, can I copy it? And he's like, well, I told the person that gave it to me that I wouldn't show it to anybody else. So meaning they were competitive with everyone else in the class. And I said, and he said, well, you know what? You can copy it, but you need to you need to copy it outside of Charlottesville, which is a city where University of Virginia. and try to go to Culpeper somewhere else. It was like 20 minutes away. So I took this outline. I drove 20 minutes and I came back, and then I gave it to him. And then I said, who else has this outline? And he told me like the name of, I don't know, four or five people that were also in my section. Like, so it was a section of like 30 people that, but you I'll take a class together your first year. And so so then I went up, I couldn't believe it. I went up and I asked, each of these four people, I was like, do you have another outline for this, for this class? And each one of them said no, and were lying about it. So I thought that was amazing, like just how competitive people are. So people are competitive, they will lie, they will play games to get ahead. But if you do that, I mean, I'll never forget who those people were, just because they lied to me for the sense of being competitive. And those are people that I would never do, if I had if they wanted me to hire them as a recruiter, if I was a company and they were, if I needed an attorney for my company and I found them, I wouldn't hire them because they were competitive with me like that. And so you need to be very careful about having stuff that appears, too competitive. And so a lot of times other people will think that the most important thing that matters is just the work. Like your only thing that's important is going to work and doing the best job you can and then leaving. And a lot of people think that. They think that they're going to be evaluated just on the quality of their work and not interpersonal relationships and so forth with other people. And so there's nothing wrong with being a certain type of person. So certain people are just very hard workers and not good socially. Other people are good socially, but may not be as harder workers. But in general, you can't expect to do well in the legal profession and most types of things if you want to work with groups of people, unless you have the ability to make other people like you. So it's not just about the work you do. It's about like so many other different things. And what people don't understand is that if you are very good socially with people, those people will, I mean, I have people that I've been friends with for over 30 years that I, met through law school or, and those people have given me opportunities. Those people have looked out for me and said nice things about me. And not always. I mean, there were certain people I pissed off that I shouldn't have, but, in general, people that ingratiate themselves with the people around them, are, making a very, very good decision because everybody around you will have the ability to make you rise or make you fall. I had a interesting thing happen. I don't. This is not something I should probably talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. For BCG and law crossing, it used to be that we would have to, and this is just kind of an interesting story. We would have these various people, and there were a lot of them. I mean, at one point I had maybe 100 plus of them. And they would basically be what are called process associates in an office in India. And what they would do is they would be given a list of URLs of law firms with, to go and to get their address off of, to look for career pages, to find different types of attorneys in there. And so there were all these people doing that. And again, there were about 100 of them. And it wasn't a high paid job. I don't know what it pays now. It might pay $800 a month or something for each of those people. I don't, know, but I don't even remember what it paid back then. It might have been a lot less. But I remember there was one guy working there that was someone that everybody came and asked for help, and he was always providing help. And people really, really liked him. And he wasn't necessarily the best person. He wasn't the fastest, and he wasn't the best person at doing that. But all those people liked him, and they all supported him, and he became someone that everyone just kind of went to for help. And he eventually got to the point where all these people liked him so much they wanted him to be their manager. And when he became their manager, I don't know, he moved from another position that was even higher in the role, and he became one of the top two people in this company in India, where he made probably 5 or 6 times as much as he was making when he was, lower paid. And so, what's the lesson of that? I mean, the lesson is if people around you like you and you're helping them, then that's going to really go a long way. I mean, there are certain people that will help other people with their work. There are certain people that will look out for other people and do nice things for other people and ingratiate themselves with them. And so that should be just as important, oftentimes, as the quality of work you do, is your ability to get along well with others and to ingratiate yourself with them, because that can those people can help you. They can put you in positions of power. They can give you business. I knew one of the most successful guys I remember from law school was exactly like this. I think he became the head of the head of DLA Piper, or was it Deckard, or so I don't remember what firm it was, but I went to law school and he was exactly like that. He was just really, really nice to everyone, smiling, helping, often, just not as competitive with a lot of other people, but and just very, very likable. And ingratiating yourself with the people around you can just have far-reaching implications. And anybody that as an attorney, essentially what you're doing is you're providing a service. So when you're working for partners, or if you're an associate, you're providing them a service of the work you do, and they're your client. When you have clients, it's the same thing. And anybody that you're working with, again, your success is going to come down to how you make them feel about themselves. If you go to a doctor and the doctor's rude and not nice to you, you're not going to want to do business with them again or go back. If you go to a restaurant, people aren't nice to you. So when you're in a service business, your job is to make other people feel good about themselves, your peers and your superiors and everybody around you. So you need to understand, like, this particular method, particular idea is incredibly important, because if you don't make people feel good about themselves, you're going to be in trouble. And you need to be able to do that to get referrals. So a lot of attorneys, their entire business is based on referrals, and those referrals come from people that they may have, that they've worked with in the past as peers. So you need to really focus on, what can you do to make the people around you like you? How can you be nice to them? How can you ingratiate yourself with them in a way where they don't feel like you're competitive with them? And so it's incredibly important. And people that focus only on the quality of the work are going to be in trouble. You should, by the way, and this is a very important point. So a lot of times, people come to me, I mean, most of the time, when they're looking for a job, and uh, not all of them, not probably, but probably half or more, don't have like a network of people that they may have worked with in the past that they can reach out to for help. And what does that mean? That means that you may have started out in a law firm with 5 or 6 other people at your level and some other people below and above or whatever. And those are people that should all be potential contacts you can draw on in the past. You should have a network as your career progresses, of people that you've had good relationships with, that you stay in touch with. And the more people you have like that, the more successful you're going to be as an attorney. So the quality of the work that you do is important, but your relationships are even more important. I remember, I think I tell the story a lot, but I think it's a very interesting story and it's related to this. John Quinn and was giving a presentation. He's the founder of Quinn Emanuel, the firm, Quinn Emanuel Urquhart, and one of the 1,000+ person firm. And I remember when the firm was smaller, I was working there, was maybe 45 attorneys. He said something I'll never forget. He was giving like a little 1 hour lunch, presentation about how to generate business. And he said that he thought the biggest mistake that he made in his career so far was he went to Harvard Law School, was not making more friends and ingratiating himself more with people that he went to law school with, meaning he was competitive with them. And then those people, a lot of people 20 years later, whatever it was, were in positions of power. And he felt like had he done a better job at that point, his career would have been more successful. And at that point, I mean, he was incredibly successful attorney, but he felt like he hadn't ingratiated himself enough. So when you're in law school, when you're in your first job, whatever you're doing, ingratiating yourself with your colleagues, because these people, by the way, are going to determine your success. They're going to talk to potential clients about you. They're going to talk to other people about you. Just incredibly important. So you have to do what you can to get other people to like you. Other people will do things that are will piss people off to some extent. This is not one of the most serious ones that I'm going to be talking about today, but I'm actually guilty of this too. But a lot of times people will be talking and you'll get so excited about saying something that you'll interrupt them and kind of complete their sentence and won't allow them to talk. And people don't like that. And you do enough of that and it can create issues. So you need to always allow other people to speak. So there's something I noticed, and I've noticed this consistently throughout my career. So the smartest people, meaning the people that are just the smartest, like they get ahead, they're smart, and they do well. One of the most important characteristics, and this is something that I want you to think about very, very seriously. I mean, it's related to how you make people feel about each other, but it's also extremely important. When people are talking, most of the time, what you're thinking is what I'm going to say next. You're often not really listening to what the person's saying. So you're thinking, what am I going to say next? And you're not like really hearing what people are saying. So the most successful people that I've seen and the smartest people, they're very good at doing something that people that aren't as successful don't. And what that is they're very good at listening, and they do a lot more listening than they do talking. So they'll listen, a good 80% of the time they're listening to people and not doing the talking. And this is a rule, by the way, that I try to give people in interviews. So when you go out to an interview for someone, a lot of times attorneys are just very, very excited about what they're going to say, and they feel like they need to talk a lot about their experience and all these other things, but they don't necessarily realize that people have your resume. They're not that as concerned about that. People like to talk, so people feel very good when you're around them if you let them do all the talking, and you also learn a lot more when you're listening, when you're letting people talk. So letting people talk is extremely important. You let them talk as much as they need to, and you listen to what they're saying because people really want to be heard. Everybody out there wants to be seen, and everybody wants to be heard. And the smartest people will do the most listening. I started noticing this. It's kind of a funny story how I noticed it. But I started noticing this when at BCG, when the company started, I used to hire only the top attorneys from the top firms or the best experience who were the even looking for things like were they on law review at a big school. I mean, this is just how the business worked. It wasn't the most important thing, but I had my priorities wrong. I was hiring the wrong type of people. But what I noticed is anytime I would hire someone that was extremely smart, meaning they had I mean, very, very smart. I mean, I knew they were smart, but the smartest people would always do the most listening. I've noticed that among like top executives and people, they often will do the most listening. So listening is very important because people like to be heard, and that makes them feel good about themselves. So one piece of advice I give a lot of times to people when they go on interviews is the person talking to you should be basically, or that is interviewing you should be doing about 80% of the talking. And if you let that person do 80% of the talking, then you're probably on the right track. There was a one of my mentors, he was a marketing mentor, his name was Jay Abraham, and he it's very interesting. So he was on a plane once. It was going from like New York to Los Angeles, and he was sitting next to a guy, and he decided he was going to just do this kind of experiment because he was just going to ask this guy a bunch of questions and let him talk the whole flight. just to kind of entertain himself and amuse himself. And so he started talking to the guy when the flight took off, and the guy talked nonstop. He just kept asking him more and more questions for whatever this 5 hour flight was. And then you remember when the flight landed, the guy said to him, like, this is the most interesting conversation I've had, in years that I can remember. Well, can I have your contact information and all this stuff? And so the idea is that people will like you if you let them talk. And if you interrupt people, they won't like it. And people are really more concerned about what they have to say many times than what you have to say. And clients want to talk and explain problems. Everybody wants to talk. And so you have to let other people talk. And if you're good at that, you will do well. So allow other people, ask them about themselves, all this sorts of stuff, and try not to interrupt people. And that's fairly sure as well. Another big one is complaining about your work. So if you complain about your work, people won't like that. So there's something wrong with my computer. So, a second. But if you're complaining about your work, that's not a good thing. You should never complain to anyone. You shouldn't complain about the type of work you're being given. If you're given work, the thing that you should always remember is work is actually a reward. So, meaning it's a privilege to have work. If you run out of work as a attorney, then your career is over. So, meaning, your career wherever you are at is over. So, partners are always competing to do their best to get work. Everybody, from clients, everybody, their entire success as an attorney is based on your ability to have work. So you should never be complaining about work. If you complain about your work, people are not going to want to give you work when they have work. People are not going to, like you if you're complaining about your work. You should never complain about your work. If you complain about your work, then it's basically saying that I don't I don't, want work. And so it's just not, a good thing. Sometimes people complain about having too much work. And, if you complain about having too much work, that can often, hurt you as well. So you have to be very, very careful about this thing about work. So people will complain about all sorts of work. They will complain about not getting the type of work they want. They will complain about not whatever the client's giving them work. They will just all these different things they'll complain about. And people do not want people around that kind of have that negative energy. If you do that with partners, I mean, just think about it, how it would be if someone gave you work. If you were giving someone work and that person was complaining about it or saying that they didn't like this work you were giving them and so forth, then you would not want to give them work in the future, and you wouldn't feel good about that. So you just can't complain about your work. And the big thing to remember, and I said this earlier, I mean, but the most important thing as an attorney is to be in business, and being in business means that there's work coming in the door. So if you're at a firm, that means people giving you work. If you're at if you're trying to get clients, that means get clients giving you work. And the second people run out of work, their career or their job is over. So you need to always have access to work. And this is something that I talk about all the time, and it's something that you should really like very, very seriously like think about and write down. But you always need to have access to work as an attorney. So people will make mistakes sometimes. They'll go into jobs that don't have a future. Maybe they're going in-house and they don't know it's for a startup company, but you'll in your position where you don't know if you're going to have work in the future. I see people lose jobs, and that's losing access to work. So always trying to make sure that you have work to do. And there's also another extreme where sometimes people will have way too much work. And what does that mean? So sometimes, like you may have a client and you may be in trial, and the hours may be just completely crazy, or you may be supporting people to go into trial. And your job as an attorney is to work very hard while that sort of thing is going on. If you're in a position where there's way too much work, then then you can find another job if you want. And I see people doing that all the time, but you should never be complaining about your work. Complaining about clients is also a very negative thing. Uh, as a general rule, attorneys are not supposed to complain about their clients. If you ever watch murder mystery, or, these true crime shows and things, and then you watch the attorneys that even if the attorney is representing some horrible criminal, and if the person's even been sentenced to prison, the attorney that represented the criminal will always be saying nice things about them and that they weren't guilty and defending them, even when it doesn't look anywhere near like that could be the case. And so lawyers are not supposed to complain about your clients. You're not supposed to say negative things about them. Clients are people that are giving you work. So again, anybody that's giving you work, needs to be respected. If you're complaining about clients, that's not a good thing. I remember I had when I was practicing law, there was this. We were representing this client. It was a Sultan of Brunei, was one of the richest men in the world back then, and there was a partner that was also working on a matter that I was working on. And then he started saying like some of the most awful things about this guy. It just that he was like a scumbag and, just talking like very, very negatively about him. I'd really never seen, at that point, I've been practicing for like 3 or 4 years. I'd never really seen an attorney do that. I'd never seen an attorney complain negatively about their clients. I remember thinking to myself, like, this is not like this guy's doing something wrong. Well, sure enough, within 2 or 3 years, this guy, not even that, maybe a year and a half, he ended up, I think whatever, he had to leave the firm he was at, and the firm I was at was Dewey Ballantyne. He started his own solo practice, and then that didn't work out for him either, and then he became a judge. But the point is that if you're complaining about your clients, attorneys that do that, it's not a good thing. I mean, your clients are people that are supporting you. The law firm's clients are people that supporting you. So the job of an attorney is not to complain about the clients, but to take their side. And it's just something that people see you doing that and complaining. That's not a good thing. You need to take the client's side. And then sometimes people think that their personal life is more important than work. This is something that is very common now. It's with and when people are searching for jobs, it's one of their the most important things. They will actually, when I will talk to people and they may be looking for a job in a given city, or they may be unemployed, or even, and they'll be talking about how they only want to talk to firms that have good life, balance and that sort of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to realize that anytime you're approaching your career, as if your personal life is more important than your job, then that's sending a message, because law firms and clients can hire people that make them a priority. So again, you have to be available. One of the things that's very important for attorneys is you're a professional. It's no different than being a doctor. So there's jobs you can go into where there's not a lot of accountability, but if you're an attorney, it's again, your clients may need help at different hours. They may need help in the middle of the night. Partners or other people you're working for may need help in the middle of the night. People may need you in the office and not at home. So you have to realize if you're going to be a professional and you want to be in a certain type of environment, then you have to make your job seem like the priority to the people you're working with. People do not your people that you're working for want to feel like working for them is more important than anything else. Even obviously, it is not for you, but I mean, that's not true. I mean, people's personal life generally is more important, but people need to think that working for them is important and doing the best job possible. So people will often not take calls late at night. People will not, respond to texts. People will not, want to be, work at certain times. They will try to avoid responsibility and that sort of thing. And so that is not something that can help you. So it's just something to remember, especially if you're working in a law firm with other people. that you have to be in a way that you're making sure that people believe it's the most important. Now, it is interesting. There are firms, lots of them, where your ability, or the requirement for you to be in the office all the time and work very, very hard is not there. Where there are firms where uh, partners and everyone goes home at like 5 or 6, even in the middle of New York City, like decent sized firms. I mean, there are firms like that, but you have to realize a couple things. So as an attorney, it's no different in many cases of being a doctor. So when a doctor goes to um, uh, comes out of medical school, based on their performance and how they look as an attorney, I mean, as far as a doctor, they will be funneled into different types of residencies. So someone that doesn't seem like the best doctor, or doesn't have the most aptitude, will be funneled into things like being a sleep doctor, or being maybe a radiologist, or maybe being a psychiatrist. And why is that? Because the consequences aren't that great, meaning the consequences of making a mistake as a radiologist aren't that great, because the doctor that you're doing the x-rays from is also looking at these x-rays and making their conclusions. So their ultimate person that's going to be responsible. If you're a psychiatrist and you give a bad therapy session, or maybe don't give enough of the psychiatrist, the consequences aren't that great. But if you want to be something with consequences, that would be like a brain surgeon, or a trauma surgeon, or different types of medical specialties, or like kidney surgeon, or all these different types of things that require high consequences. I mean, the biggest one is being a neurosurgeon, because if you make a mistake, the person dies, like right there. So things with consequences are where the best attorneys are funneled into. And those people in the high consequence jobs typically are not going to be that worried about hours and things. So that when you're working in a law firm, if you want to do work that has, or you want to work for some other people and you want to do things that have high consequences, you're probably going to be in a very demanding type of environment compared to where that's going to be required. If you don't want to be in something with high consequences for making a mistake, then you go to work in smaller firms or smaller people. This isn't that big of a one, just being giggly. I don't really know why I put that in there, but you need to be taken seriously wherever you're working with. And then comparing yourself to others, suggesting you deserve more. People will do these sorts of things in law firms all the time. They'll act like that maybe they deserve more than other people because of something, and that is not something that you can do. You let people make decisions about what you are entitled to. So people will, they'll often be resentful of peers and other people that they think they deserve as much as. This is just another one, the image of a brown noser and so forth. You need to be careful about that. I mean, I think that the idea would be just being flattering people when it's not real, and making them know that you're flattering them. Partners, by the way, associates will go partners, or and other things, and then people will realize that you're brown nosing. So you need to be respected. The other one is just trying to control people's behavior. I don't know that this is something to spend a lot of time on, but that's important. So you need to realize that you can't control other people's behavior as well. And this is another big one that people will do. They will take a look at some place that they're working at, and they will consider it a stepping stone. So I work with attorneys all the time that move to a firm that might be like they might be from a smaller firm to a little bigger firm, and they're doing it as a stepping stone. And there's nothing wrong with you having stepping stone firms. So, and it's actually a very important thing for career progression. So stepping stone means you might start out at a smaller firm, for example, with smaller clients, and then you go to work for a larger firm with larger clients, and then even after that, a larger firm with even larger clients. And that basically means that when you're working for firms like that, you're trying to get into larger and larger firms where you're working on larger and larger clients with larger and larger consequences. And so you should always think about that when you're practicing law, to try to move to places where there's clients where they're larger, and where the making a mistake has larger consequences. An example, just so you kind of can get a sense of how does this work. So say you were in a say you're in the Midwest in I don't know, like a whatever, and Cincinnati, and you were working for a law firm doing corporate, and you might be doing general corporate, and you might be doing, just maybe a little bit of M&A and some other things. But if there was a giant client, like say there's a major company, like I don't know, would it be like just say Purdue Chicken or something, and they're in Cincinnati, and they want to do like an IPO, or they want to merge with the second largest chicken producer in the country. Well, they're not going to use your firm. They're going to go to a firm that handles bigger clients and more sophisticated transactions. And so that means, to a better firm. And so if you are very, excited about what you're doing, you want to continue to move to larger and larger places, then you always want to do your best to get into larger roles. But you don't ever want people to think that wherever you're at is a stepping stone of some sort. People want to believe when they're hiring you that that's where you want to be, and the employer needs to feel like this is the type of clients you want to work on. This is the type of work you want to do. And if they feel like it's a stepping stone, then they're not going to like you. If people that are at the firm, your peers, and that's the best job that they can get for whatever reason, they don't think that they don't want to feel like things are a stepping stone. So you have to always be very, very careful about doing that. This isn't that big of a one because it should be pretty obvious, but people get in trouble with alcohol all the time. Just like sometimes one flippant remark, doing one wrong thing can get you in trouble at Christmas parties. Sometimes people will just drink too much, and that will have impacts on them. I mean, impact their career. So you just have to be with alcohol, drugs, all this sorts of stuff. You have to be very, very careful about that. And I personally recommend not even like, trying to avoid, if you have a problem with that, just being very, very careful. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going out and drinking with people, but people can very, very quickly get bad reputations because of alcohol related stuff. And I've literally, I see it very, very regularly, and it can really mess up your career. And I've seen it with candidates. I've seen it with lots and lots of people happen. This happens to them. So, and that once you get a reputation for that, that can hurt you as well. So this is just something to look out for. I mean, a significant percentage of attorneys do have alcohol problems. Sometimes it's drug problems, whatever, but you need to be very, very careful about that, and that can hurt you. And then this is just some other stuff. It's real brief, and then we'll almost be done. Go to questions. A lot of times pro bono, if you're doing like way too much of that, sometimes people take that, very, very, seriously. They want to do a lot of pro bono. Just realizing that anytime you're at a law firm, whoever's hiring you, you are there to make money for that firm. So, and especially as a young attorney, you need to make sure that your focus is really on the law firm and their clients and billing and making the firm money. And that's just, and again, I've seen a lot of attorneys get in trouble with that because I think that's important. Racist or sexist behavior. I mean, this is something that everyone is aware of, especially now. But people also can get in trouble for that. If someone makes a remark or something about you think she said something racist, or someone thinks you did something sexist, that will hurt you. People are often looking for trouble, so they're looking for reasons to find someone is racist or sexist so they can use it against them. So this is just, again, something to be very careful about. So essentially what we've covered today, and is what I talked about at the beginning, is your success as an attorney really comes down to how you make people feel about you, and how people feel is determined by all the things that I've spoken about today. And just remember that everything you do is really is going to make people feel one way or another. And the most successful people that I've seen really have the ability to make other people feel very, very good about themselves. And people that make their superiors feel good about themselves get promoted, and people that instead keep jobs, people that do that with clients. And so it's just one of the most important things and lessons you can learn in your life, in your career. And friendships start because both of them make them feel good about themselves. I mean, same thing with relationships with significant others. I mean, this is something and your work. So everything really comes down to the quality of relationships and how you make people feel. Okay, so we'll take a quick break. I hope this is helpful. This is again, I think an extremely important topic. And then we'll take a quick break, and then when I come back, I will do questions. So this is a live webinar, so you can feel free to ask as many questions as you want. I will stick around as long as you want. I think questions, by the way, I think are one of the most important, maybe the most important point of the webinar. And your questions do not need to be about what I talked about today. They can be about anything, any challenges you're having, anything you want advice on, any mistakes you've made, you want to overcome, job search strategies, questions about anything. So I will take the questions when I come back, and then let's take a quick break for like a minute or two. But yeah, again, questions are just, in my opinion, like probably the most important part of the webinar, because I think it's a good opportunity for everyone to kind of learn about different things. And then nice thing too is then I save the answers that I give to your questions. And so those are very helpful for you if you want, for other people that may have similar issues in the past. You're kind of doing the legal profession the service by asking questions as well. So just give me 1 second. I'll be back. Thanks. All right, so we get to questions. Give me 1 second. And just kind of go back to this point real quick. I really like this topic. What I like and I just want everyone, it's important to kind of think, from the perspective of your interpersonal relationships and people that you know, and people that you like, and people that you want to spend your time with, and people that you don't. It's really like when you meet different people, and when you're around different people, like you want to spend more time with certain people, and you want to, and you gravitate towards people based usually on what the heck's wrong with this document? Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Um, Jesus. People spend time with people, and you're around people, you do business with people, really based on how they make you feel about yourself. So you should always like think like how am I making people feel about themselves? Like how am I doing that? And so the ability to do that is really one of the most important components of success, practicing law and really doing anything. And because you gravitate towards people that make you feel good about yourself, not the opposite way around. It's also interesting too, because I will geez, what the heck's wrong with this thing? Give me a second. I'm trying to fix this. All right, I'll put another document. Yeah, so just how you're able to make other people just make sure I got the right thing here. How you're able to make other people feel about themselves. And you notice this too, like sometimes when you're just around people and you spend a little bit of time with them, you'll just get a sense, or you'll feel a certain way. And and other people you'll feel good about sometimes when you meet them or you spend time with them and you're around them. Other people will give off a type of energy where you won't feel good about them. One of the most crazy things that ever happened to me is I was in this airport security line, and I was there was this guy that was standing like he was behind me, and he was dressed just like a normal person. There was nothing unusual about him. But I got this just like very strong, like just very positive and like relaxing. I mean, like notable, like very, very notable feeling being around this guy. And I just looked at him like, who is this guy? And it was just very peaceful and like, and then I remember seeing the guy's face, and then I was in the airport and I was looking at books and the guy his book was one of his books was sitting out there. I think his name was Michael Beckwith, and he was this kind of he had this his own religion or something. It was like or some he had his own church or something. Anyway, so he had this kind of energy about him, and so there's certain people that have that energy. I mean, religious figures typically have that sort of energy. It's like how they make other people feel. People will follow people that have the kind of energy. I used to live next door to this guy named his wife had a house, Prem Rawat, who's this religious figure in Malibu, and then I got interested in him, and I was reading about people's experiences with him, and it was the same thing, like how he made people feel about each other. So this whole thing about how you do that is really determines a lot of cases, how successful you are, and it's just as important as work many times in companies here. All right, so I'm going to go to questions. Let me see here. Okay, I don't know how to talk about myself in a way that doesn't sound either self-depreciating or arrogant. I avoid even saying that I went to an Ivy League school for undergrad because it seems like people automatically think I'm better than them. So there's nothing, I mean, going to an Ivy League school is great. There's nothing wrong with that. People don't like that when people say when I was going to school out east, when I was whatever. Like that's not how you talk about going to school. You just say when I was in college. You don't say out east or in Boston. People will say I was in Boston if they went to Harvard or out east or those sorts of things. You just say college. You don't. There's no reason to ever talk about the fact that you went to a certain college. It was funny, like my well anyway, I went to like University of Chicago for college, which is a decent school. And I probably meant I mean I'm mentioning it right now, but I probably literally talk about it, like mention it to someone that I don't know, like every couple of years. I mean, I don't unless they ask me, like what's the point of saying anything in a way that would try to make you think like would make people uncomfortable or think that you're better than them. I meet attorneys all day long. Like not, I mean, I meet attorneys when I'm out, just out and about. Like I don't know, I might go to yoga class, meet an attorney. I might go to a dinner, I might be an attorney there. And I never mention, we just talk to the attorney. We never talk. I never mention where I went to law school or anything like that. I never even mention like the firms I worked at. I mean, great firms. Why would I do that? Like, I mean, I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm making the person uncomfortable. And like they won't often talk about where they went to school and stuff. So you never want to try to say anything that would make people think you're better than them, because once you do that, those people aren't necessarily going to want to help you and they may not like you. So yeah, so you just need to be very, very careful about that. You never draw attention to your strengths or your achievements yourself. You let other people do that for you. And if you do, they're going to like you a lot better. And self-depreciating, you don't need to be self-depreciating, but you need to, you need to act in a way that doesn't make people uncomfortable. And this is actually a very interesting point. So when you meet very, very successful people, a lot of times they will let you talk, and even though they might be like the most competent person like you can imagine, they will not make you feel that way when you're talking to them. They'll just basically be very easygoing and nice. And so you have to that is an attitude that I think is very important. I'm just telling you that this is what I've noticed from dealing with a lot of extremely successful people throughout my career. I used when I was young, I had this well, actually until I was like 27. But from the time I was like 19 till I was like 27, I had this asphalt maintenance company, and I did most of my work in like Grosse Pointe and Bloomfield Hills, which are two like the nicest suburbs bordering that in the Detroit area. And I would always do work for these people that might have been like the president of General Motors and these extremely high-ranking people that you'd see in the newspapers and stuff. And this is back when the U.S. auto industry was a little different than it is today. But and those people were all like that. I mean, they would never. They were always just very easygoing, and they wouldn't brag. And I just noticed that, and I've noticed that throughout my entire career. How can a law student actually accidentally come across as difficult to work with during a summer program, even without meaning to? So when you're as a summer associate in a law firm, the way to be seen as easy to work with is to take assignments from people, ask a decent amount of questions, but not enough to piss them off, and then to come back and do the work in a way that's competent and doesn't make trouble. So people that are easy to work with will take a we'll get sorry, Jesus. Sorry, we'll get an assignment, and it will just be very effortless, and they'll return it, and there won't be like a lot of friction. So someone that's very good at their job, regardless of what it is, they do something in a way that there's not a lot of friction. So friction means like you're creating problems between you're creating issues with getting the work done. There's things that are making it difficult for the person that gave you an assignment. So if someone's giving you an assignment, then you need to give them the right result without them having to spend a lot of time critiquing and so forth. So trying to do the best work, maybe asking for advice for people that are more senior. But just remember that everything is about the ease of giving you something and having as little friction as possible. Because people where there's friction, like if I want to give somebody like something to do, for example, there are certain people I can give something to do, and they'll say no problem, and they'll go and they'll figure it out. They won't ask a lot of questions, and they will come back and they'll get the result. Other people will get assignments, and then they will have all these different sorts of questions, and then they'll make it difficult for the person to get. I'm writing something down. I'm just pulling up an article for you guys. So, Jesus, what's going on here? Unbelievable. So give me 1 second. I'm just looking, geez. Okay. Sorry. It's funny, I was looking up an article that I wrote. What the hell is this? Oh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, there's an article that I wrote, and I don't know why it's not online. Let me just see here. Anyway, it's called Message to Garcia. And so yeah, I may not actually have it. It may not be, let me just look at something. Hmm. Okay. Well, anyway, there's a article out there. It's called "A Message to Garcia," and it's basically it's a was something that was a pamphlet that was given to soldiers in World War One, and everyone was told to read it. And essentially, what it says is it talks about this person that was given this, told to go to Cuba or get dropped off on the shore of Cuba, and told to find someone named Garcia that was somewhere in the mountains and to deliver this message. And it basically said that this person Garcia would be given a task to do, and when given that task, they would just get it done. They didn't ask a lot of questions. You would give them something to be done, and it would be done. And then they talked about what would happen to the average person given that assignment. And so the average person would ask questions. They would say, "Oh, this is impossible. How do I find this? What do I do with that? What is it really necessary to do this?" All these different things. And they were saying that that's how like 90% of the people approach things. Whereas this Garcia would just get anything done. So that's what you need to do in any job. Like you're given something to do, and you just need to get it done. And by the way, this particular article was considered so important that everybody, every soldier, I think in World War One was given it. It's all about basically being easy to work with and getting assignments and things you were given done. Give me 1 second. Okay, next question. Okay, what if you're promised something on the interviews that they never intended to actually give you? When I was fresh out of law school, so it was great. So, fresh out of law school, I was promised an amazing research project. When I asked a partner a year into the job, he told me that I should have known that I was getting into a sales job. So it was my fault for interviews. Now I know. Sorry, now I know to just quietly take my lumps and start job hunting somewhere else. What else could I have done? Yeah, so someone may have told you that you could get a certain type of work or something when they were interviewing you, and not given it to you. And frankly, that if that's what happened and you didn't get it, then I think you did the right thing asking about it. But if you're not going to get the kind of work you want or whatever you're being put in a job at sales as opposed to not giving you different types of skills you may want practicing law, then yeah, there's nothing wrong with looking for another job. And people will misrepresent different things sometimes. And if they do misrepresent things, then there's nothing wrong with leaving. But ultimately, any employer you're working for, your job is to make things easier for them and to make money for them. And sometimes they will tell you that you can do things you can't in order to get you to work there. And and if that happens, then I think you're doing the absolute. I mean, I would look for a job. Right. Yeah, and thank you everyone for all these questions. I mean, anything you ask, I will answer. Thanks. Okay, I'm trying to learn business development. If I'm taking a potential client, e.g., in-house counsel, business owner, is it okay to discuss my accomplishments? I don't want to seem arrogant, as you mentioned. Is there a good way to do that? I would think it is good to look like an accomplished attorney. Yes. So if someone is, working, if you're talking to a potential client, that client needs to feel confidence in hiring you. So they need to understand that whatever their issues are, that you're confident doing them. If you have had successes and you've won things, or you've gotten people better deals and transactions, or whatever it is, and you save people money if you're a trusted. I mean, whatever you've done, clients want to hear that. So it's actually good to do that as with clients because you want to build up people's enthusiasm for you. When I talk to attorneys that that it's just part of my recruiting job. I mean, I will continually tell them different people that I've worked with in similar situations and gotten great results for. So yeah, it's perfectly fine when you're talking to a potential client to talk about your accomplishments. But you want to let that client talk first and tell you what their issues are, and then you can talk to them about how you've helped people in similar situations and gotten them really, really good results. People want that. I mean, think about what you would want if you went to a doctor and you had a certain type of cancer, and the doctor told you that they've cured multiple people with your type of cancer when everyone said it was impossible. Um, you would go see them. I remember I was it's a long story. Fiance a long time ago, not too long ago actually. We were trying to do this IVF, and which is in vitro fertilization. And she's older, and so were instead of working in Los Angeles, we found someone in New York that was so supposedly could get these incredible results, and they talked about it. So the most successful people, that are able to generate business and stuff will make clients feel confident, like they can get them good results. So that is not something that is going to make you seem arrogant. That's going to make them actually like you and want to hire you because they'll feel confidence. Okay, what systems can our law firm implement to prevent the reputational damage caused by attorneys who fail to manage relationships with supervisors and peers? Um, wow. I'm not really sure what this question is. Let me just see if I can think about this for a second. Okay, implement to prevent the reputational damage caused by attorneys who fail to manage relationships, supervisors, and peers. Well, I don't know if it'd be relationships, but it would be, yeah, it would be, um, I guess their reputational damage. I mean, it's difficult to control people, and so I think if people are, not doing a good job in their relationships with supervisors and peers, I would assume that, you could address something like that with reviews, maybe. And yeah, and but I don't know. I think reviews are a good thing. So giving people reviews, a lot of firms will have different point systems and things for associates and even partners, where they look at these sort of factors and tell people how they can improve. So if you want to ask a follow-up question, I apologize. I just don't quite understand that question. Okay, let me see here. I am a foreign educated lawyer, and worked in the Middle East and got into a lot of trouble, not because I was in trouble, but because I sniffed out a lot of corruption. I subsequently got smeared by the fake lawyer I was trying to out, who now works at a White Shoe law firm as a managing partner, despite not being a real lawyer. I'm suing and pray I win to have these articles taken down. But in the meantime, what can I do to cure my previously excellent reputation? Um, I also want to do a JD. I only have a BA in law and Arabic. I struggle to keep bridges intact, sadly. So it's actually interesting. I was talking to a producer just like a week ago, like someone that you would know um, the movies and things this person's made. And but he has this horrible thing happen to his career, so he's basically lost clients and just in really bad shape. His whole career basically tanked just because of a few mistakes. But what he told me, which is interesting, and I heard this, he said that there's kind of two types of people in Hollywood. There's those that sue and those that work. So anybody that's listening or watching this, that has ever been in a position where you're thinking about suing someone, if you do sue someone, it becomes very, very difficult to work again, because the word, the word of that gets out, and then regardless of who's at fault, people are just afraid of hiring someone that's sued because they could be sued in the future. So avoiding these kind of things is often the best thing. I don't know. What happened in your particular situation. But if you want to move to the US, this is actually a good point. So people will often want to move to the US as foreign educated lawyers. And the smartest thing to do is to get a JD in the US, and then as opposed to an LLM, because if you get a JD, that makes it much easier to get a job. But yeah, I don't, so that's what I would recommend. Maybe your reputation won't follow you. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you have people have to be careful, I think, when they get into post. A lot of times what attorneys will do too is if they get into something where there's something illegal going on or something questionable, instead of like making an issue out of it where they're at, they will just either resign and leave or quietly, very quickly try to find another job, something like that. So okay. Okay, that's true. People are often marginalized to me. Weirdly, yesterday I was alone on a jettison of rocks when I was surfing on the beach, and these people followed me under the rocks, even though there were other rocks to climb. I'd rather be alone in a desert. Someone can follow me. Okay, let's see here. This must have been a follow-up statement or something. Okay. If someone is interviewing for a law firm and is asked why they don't want to work in a government position, can they say because the government does grunt work and has dead-end jobs? And if you were interviewing for a law firm job and they ask you why you don't want to go in-house, can you say because in-house is low-grade jobs because everything gets complicated or referred out? Okay, this is actually a good question. So, and this is a very good question. So, in this, what I'm going to talk about right now could save your career and your life practicing law. So anytime you go in-house or to the government, you're taking a job where essentially you're working for one client. So if that client decides that they don't like you, you lose your job. If that client goes out of business, like in-house, you lose your job. If that client decides to downsize, like all these people lost their jobs in the government when Trump came in, then you lose your job. So is it smart to work for one client? If you work in a government position, working in the Justice Department, there's an age where you have to retire. In most government positions and most in-house positions, there's a floor on the income you can have. So why would someone work in a law firm as opposed to going in-house? You go into a law firm because in a law firm, first of all, your skills have to be at a good level because your people are paying you for the work. If you're an associate, they're paying you for the work, or if you're a partner and you have clients, they're paying you for the work, so your skills have to be good. You have to be good at what you do. You also will get most attorneys at the same practice for a while will have multiple clients. They'll have lots and lots of different clients, regardless of whether they're in a small town, a large market, wherever they are. They will typically have lots of clients. So you have lots of clients. That means you have career stability. So if you lose one client, it doesn't matter. If you're in house and you lose that client, you're in trouble. Your skills are much better. In a law firm, your skills are the market's paying you to do it. They have all sorts of different decisions about other law firms they can use or other attorneys, whoever's paying for the work. So because of that, if you're not doing good work, then you won't have clients. So working in a law firm is really the best possible job, I think, for an attorney because you can have career stability, the quality of work that's required. I've seen attorneys work until their mid 80s in law firms. You can work in law firms for really as long as you want, or you can have your own law firm and you can have your income. You can control your income. You can make as much or as little. I mean, so you have all this sort of control over your career when you work in a law firm. Whereas if you're not working in a law firm and you're working in-house or you're working for the government, you don't necessarily have that. You can start your own firm. You can do all these different things. And that's the benefit of working in a law firm. So if someone asks you why you want to work in a law firm, not the government, because a law firm is more challenging. A law firm has more career stability. A law firm has all these benefits, ability to work in different types of clients, ability to keep your skills up, all these different things. Most people that I see that go in-house, and I talk about this almost every webinar. But most people I see that go in-house, the jobs only last a couple of years, and they only last a couple of years for the majority of people. I mean, some people go in-house and they stay there for their entire career, but the majority of people, they go in-house and they only last a couple of years because what happens is companies will go out of business, companies will downsize, companies may merge and have, redundancies. Companies will have new general counsels that come in and want their own people, new CEOs. So in-house is extremely dangerous, and most people don't realize that. And same thing with government jobs. I mean, those are dangerous. So your job is to, as an attorney, is really to make sure that you always have access to work. So access to work, and I keep bringing this up, access to work is most important. So
Why would you go into a situation where your access to work could be a danger? Is your access to work is in danger if you're in house because you don't know how long that's going to last, or with a government or whatever it is. Whereas if you're able to work in a law firm and develop your own clients, you're always going to have access to work. So, great question. Now, let's see. If you're in a situation where job is misrepresented, you learn after you take the job, can you mention misrepresentation and interview after that for a better job? Yeah, of course you can. So that's a good reason to look for a job. So you may go to a job and think you're interviewing to be a litigator, and you get there and they're giving you half litigation, half corporate. That's a good reason to look for another job, and other employers will appreciate that. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if the job you've taken is misrepresented, you just that's what it was, and so you do the best you can. But yeah, those are that's a good reason to look for another job. If something's misrepresented, of course. Let's see here. Let's see, give me 1 second. Next question. How do I know? How do I know if my reputation is being damaged by who I choose to associate with at my law firm? So again, there's different types of people in a law firm. There's people that are doing a good job, where things are going well, where they're doing good work, where people trust them, and where they're getting along with people. And then there's always going to be people that are the opposite of that, that are negative for whatever reason. Not don't support the firm, don't aren't enthusiastic about the firm, all these sorts of things. And so those sorts of people are the wrong people to associate with. So if you associate with negative people, and the law firm knows who those negative people are people that aren't doing good work and having problems, and that's your people you're with, then the law firm is going to assume that you are just like those other people, and I mean that you're on there, that you are basically uh, think the way they think and are on the side against the law firm too. So you want to avoid people that are negative, and not do your best, or people that are having problems, not to associate with that, because you will just become tainted by that. I had an interesting thing happen. It was funny when I was in high school. I had to get for whatever reason I had to get for college, some college I was applying to. Actually, I know what college. It was the University of Chicago. I had to get a letter of recommendation from someone that was a math teacher, like sciences or something, and then one that was like in English or something. So they wanted it from both. I don't know why they had that requirement back then. But I had a friend that had gotten suspended, or basically almost expelled from he was my best friend from high school, because he had thought it was very funny to pull up alongside when he was with another guy in a car and ask these two kids where the high school I went to was a private boarding school, and all the students, I mean, all the professors, I mean, the teachers lived on campus. So he drove past a couple of kids and he asked them, asked them if they wanted some candy, and just joking around. The kids ran home, and their parents were usually there. For whatever reason, they weren't that day. So the police were called, and this huge, like 50 policemen or 30 policemen came out to the athletic fields because they saw the same car, and then they ended up arresting my friend and this other guy, and he got the kick out of school. But anyway, he's my best friend, and so I asked the this math teacher, who was uh, good friends with these particular faculty people, that lived next door to them. I asked him for a recommendation for college, and he turned around and wrote this just horrible recommendation, just like, no one should ever. I mean, even though I did well in his class, he shouldn't. He doesn't show the potential to be a good student. All this crazy stuff, and so the school called University of Chicago called my high school and was like, "What's up with this guy? Like, why is he writing such a negative recommendation?" And then the school told him that about what had happened, and they assumed that the teacher thought I was a bad kid too because of who I associated with. It was just very interesting. I mean, I don't know how that all got back to me, but the point being, if you associate with people that are having issues, then you'll kind of get that a tinge of negativity as well from that, and it can end up harming you. Let's see. Let me see. Okay. Thanks everyone for all these questions. Let me see here. Okay. When applying for new positions, if I did not work at a firm for a significant amount of time, or I had a bad experience while working there, but have to stay for financial reasons, is it appropriate to leave the company off my resume? Let's see if it. Okay, so that's a good question. Should you take short-term employers off your resume? And again, I'm not going to tell you to lie. What I will tell you is that that's something that a large number of people do. I would say they kind of figured this out. So if you were at an employer for only a month or two or a very short period of time, then leaving that on your resume, there's no really, you can leave that on there, but it doesn't look as strong as it would be to not have it on there. One thing that I recommend, and I see this all the time, so say you're like a 15th year attorney or whatever it is, and you've been at one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight firms or whatever over the course of your career. And then, and so people will do this and say one is like your current firm. So what a lot of times people will do, this might have been like 1 year, this might be like 6 months, whatever. People will take instead of what I recommend people do, and this gets people a lot more interviews than if they don't. They might list their current firm, and then so this might be like 2000, let's say 2030, just pretend it's 2030, and then this might have been 2029, and whatever, and you just kind of keep going. But they'll take all of this experience and they'll basically write, they'll write one line, I don't know, finance associate or finance attorney. And then they'll basically mention like, three or four, mention a few big names, like 2018 to 2030 or whatever, just as an example. And so they'll basically, and then they'll talk about all these different employers they were with. They'll mention maybe two or three of them in a line about them. So then, they might say, worked as a finance attorney, Sorry. And this is actually really, I hope everyone sees what I'm doing or understands for platform, for firms, including men, and then they might mention, one or two, 1 to 2 firms, two firms, maybe 3 firms, whatever. And then they'll, instead of having all those there. So that's one thing that people do, and that's highly effective. It's something that very few people don't do, but I try to teach people to do, and it ends up getting people a lot more interviews. But my advice is, yeah, if you've didn't work at a firm very long, or if something bad happened there, then can you leave it off? I mean, I don't see, I don't, if it's not going to help you. Also, sometimes people will do things like, this is another thing I don't like. So they might say like big firm, whatever the firm is, 2022 to 2024, which is just an example. And then they might say, 2024 to contract attorney, something like that. 2024 to present. So I would just recommend not having a contract attorney on there at all. It's better just to, why would you do something that undermines like how you look? So I typically like, and if there's been all these various things here, it might have been like, I don't know, you always try to make yourself look as strong as possible. So I don't see any reason why it would be unethical to, if you just were working contract for some firms, to leave that off. You just always want to make your resume look as strong as possible. without putting things on there that are limiting you. So putting too many firms on there that have been short term, putting positions on there that don't look good. Like these are all great questions and things that we talk about. Okay, do you have any advice for avoiding talking about politics when other people consistently do? Do my racial and gender group, in my racial and gender group, there is a strong pressure to adhere to the Democratic Party, an assumption that I'm due, but I'm don't, but I don't, but saying it would make people in my demographic hate me. Is it hard to seem neutral? Any advice? So, so yeah, I run into this all the time. Like I've gone to meetings before and someone will say, my God, I'm about ready to leave the country because Donald Trump's president and I don't know what to do. How are you handling it? Like just assuming that, I'm not a Trump supporter or whatever. So people will do this sort of stuff all the time. And then, yes, there are certain groups that tend to skew towards being a Republican or a Democrat. So I typically would not, if that's if everyone at your firm's like that, then I don't see anything wrong with talking positively about it. If you're not that way, then you just basically say, I'm neutral. I try not to get involved in that sort of stuff. And I don't understand a lot of times why people want to get involved in that because why would you try to be on the side of something that people don't like? So, I mean, Democrats are very hostile towards Republicans and vice versa. So it's just often not a smart thing, I think, to try to get involved in. Okay, that's the next question. I think this is the last question. I mean, there's a couple more that I may answer, but I think they kind of overlap with things I've already answered. So, if anybody has any more questions, now would be the time to ask them. Okay, how normal is it for a fairly licensed attorney of 2 years to have trouble figuring out a field of law that interests them? I've had 3 attorney jobs: government, civil, and criminal defense. It seems not normal to my friends and family, but a lot of attorneys I know that I graduated are at least on their second or third job in their legal field. Okay, so yeah, so what field of law interests you? So that's a good question. So the first thing is there's 2 types of law basically that you need to 2 types of law. The first is things related to litigation related, and then there's transactional related, and then there's people related, individual. This is actually interesting. Individual related, and then there's company related, and then transactional related, same thing. There's individual, and then there's whatever. Or I would just say company or group is probably better. Group. Okay, so typically what happens is people that are good in reading, writing, history, things like that, political science, if that's kind of what you naturally gravitates towards, meaning if you were given a college catalog and told to choose courses that you liked, you would choose primarily things to do with reading and writing and things like that. If you would choose classes related to things where you're writing out equations and I don't know, accounting and math, science and things like that, then you're probably going to be more should be in a transaction related. So people go into one or the other, typically based on their innate skills. So if your innate skills are related to reading and writing, things like that interest you, then you should do that. And if your innate skills are in things that are related to math and science and things like economics, maybe, then you should go into something transaction related. So that's the first thing to choose practice. Then you have individual related things, which would be like family law, criminal, those lines. And then you would have, you'd have, we'll just show you some examples here. And then you would have intercompany related, you would have, commercial litigation, things like that, where you're representing companies. And then same thing with transactional. Transactional could be like trust and estates. And then company would be corporate, things like that. So people typically, if you're trying to figure out what type of field you should go into, it's usually going to be either litigation related or transaction related. Within those, the people that are work the hardest and work for the biggest make the most money are typically what you're going to work on behalf of a company. So those are typically where the people that went to the best law schools and stuff go and did the best, and then the people in the biggest cities were the big companies, and then if you do individual related, typically those are the people, at least initially, that may not have the best qualifications, and they work for. It's the same thing in transactional related law. So people that went to the biggest, work for the biggest companies in New York, typically, and things will work that. So you have to choose, which one you're interested in, transactional or litigation. So it's actually, this is a very good question. So once you figure that out, and then what kind you want to do, like where you're most likely to get the best reception, like if you didn't do that well at a low ranked law school and you like litigation, then family law is a good option, insurance defense, or transaction related would be trust and estates. And so people will typically fall into one or the other. Now, the other question that you brought up is having 2 or 3 jobs. So the idea is, your first 5 years, 5 years out of school, out of school. The only thing that's important is training. So people mistake the first 5 years out of school. They think that they've gone to law school just to get something where they can make money, like working for someone, and they should go to the place that pays the most. In reality, it's completely different. When you come out of law school, no one teaches you how to be a lawyer. So you need to find someone to hire you and teach you to be a lawyer. And it takes at least 5 years. I mean, 5 years at a minimum of training in any practice area, whether it's trust and estates or family law or commercial litigation or corporate. It's going to take at least 5 years. So people come out of law school and they think, I'm just going to try to get the job that pays the most or pays the best, when in reality, the smartest thing you could do would be to get training in something. I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff. There's a woman in New York. She went to Yale Law School. I think she graduated from Yale, and she took a job in it with a family law firm, because she wanted to learn that. Now she's one of the top. I mean, it doesn't matter really what you do, but you have to choose something. And once you choose the practice area you want to be in, you need to get training, because the training you get is going to determine how competent of an attorney and how good you are in the long run in what you're doing. So, so you're saying that people have had all these different jobs. My advice would be to get trained in a law firm, learn how to work for paying clients. If it's criminal defense, I don't know what it is, but whatever the job you can get in a law firm, if you do that, you're going to be much better off than if you try to try to learn something in government or in civil. And then, but then making sure that you choose a practice area and you stick with it. Because if you do that, you're going to have a much longer term career than, someone that's just bouncing around. So my advice, decide what you want, litigation related or transaction related, and then decide what is the best place you can see yourself getting the best training in, and what can you see yourself doing for the longest period of time. And once you figure that out, just making sure you go someplace that's going to train you. Everyone makes this. It's the dumbest mistake. Like, people come out of school and they think that they just need to be a work in a certain practice area, and so I mean they need to get paid as much as possible, and they want to work this hour or whatever, but you need to get trained in a practice area. And if you get trained in a practice area, you come out of law school at the age of 25, and you get trained. By the time you're 30, you have skills that you can use for the next 50 or 60 years working in law firms. And but people don't realize that. They think so short term. And but learning something, if you learn how to be, I don't know, just what's criminal defense attorney, like it takes you 5 years, you work in a firm, that you can be a criminal defense attorney the rest of your career. So why wouldn't you, try to get training in something like that? Or something that you can use. Just get the training. Once you get the training, you're all set. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just okay. Well, I think that's about all of the questions. Thanks for being on this today. I know that this is for Thanksgiving, and let me just make sure I don't have any questions. And oh, here we go. Maybe not. And I do think like just what you learned today is hopefully been extremely helpful. Just remembering that your success in life and as an attorney really comes down to how you make people feel about themselves, and how you make people feel about themselves really in the long run will whether it's with clients or the people you're working for will determine how far you go. So I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. Thanks for being here today, and I will be back next week. Thanks again. Bye-bye.